Hi everyone. This is a brief presentation on how to use APA correctly in your reference lists. We're going over this because this is probably the very first class where your use of APA as a writing style will be scrutinized. So let's get started. By the end of this session, you should be able to identify 4 errors, possibly more, that are commonly found in APA references. So when you look at APA, all APA citations in your reference list will pretty much follow this order. The first thing is the author's last name and first initial with a hanging indent, which means it's all the way to the left, and lines after that are indented. The year, the name of the document, which will sometimes be italicized, but always uses mostly lowercase words. If you notice, the first letter and the first letter after the colon are uppercase. Everything else is lowercase. Then you have the title of the source, which uses mostly uppercase letters, and sometimes it is italicized. And the last item that you list is where to retrieve it. So we're going to look at how to cite print articles and electronic items because those are the 2 main forms of citations that you'll have in your reference list. So here we have journal article. At the top of the page, highlighted in gray, is the correct way to cite a journal article. Notice the name with the year, the name of the document, mostly lowercase, and then here is the source, which is uppercase and italicized. The article name is lowercase, the journal title is the source. So the title of the journal will be mostly uppercase and it is italicized. The very last item that you list is where you can retrieve it. So let's look at 3 examples. The first one has the author and a date, and we'll talk about the A and B in another lecture. This is called HIV Prevention, a Model, mostly lowercase letters because that is the name of the article. The journal is uppercase with italicized letters, and the first number is the volume number, and that's italicized. Then there is a number in parentheses and pages. The volume number and pages come from each article, and they're different for each article. Notice there is a DOI. The DOI, if you remember from our visit to the library, is the digital identifier. You need to put the digital identifier at the end of this reference if it has a DOI, and when the person clicks on the DOI, they can actually get to the article. The next citation, last name, first initial, date, the name of the article, mostly lowercase letters, then the journal and the volume, italicized, the number and pages, and then here we have something that does not have a DOI. If you think back to our visit to the library, our research librarian told you how to find a permalink on Towson's website if you're using it to read articles, and sometimes you'll actually use a web link to an article. And the last item, here we have the title of the article, lowercase, the journal with italicized, volume, and then the number in parentheses, pages, and this is found from a database, PubMed. And if you find something in PubMed, which is the National Institutes of Medicine, then you need to put the PubMed identifier so people can get to it. Sometimes there'll be a DOI, sometimes there'll be a web link, but for the most part, you're going to use the PubMed identifier. So let's practice. You're going to see 2 questions, and for each question, you're going to choose the one best answer. Remember that you can pause this video to take the time to think about the question and choose your answer. The first question, at the top of the page, there is a citation for an article. And the question is, what's wrong with the citation? Should prevention have a small p instead of a big P? Should the journal name not be italicized? Do you need a web link and a DOI, or is there nothing wrong with it? Please pause the video to take the time you need to answer the question. If you chose A, prevention should have a lowercase p, that is correct. Here is the correct way to do the citation. Remember, the name of the article uses mostly lowercase letters. Here's our second question. Here is an article called Self-Efficacy and Smoking Cessation. What's wrong with this citation? Is it that the article title should be italicized? Should the title of the item and the journal be italicized? Should the volume number be italicized? Or is there nothing wrong with this citation? Please pause the video to take the time you need to think about the question. If you chose letter C, that is correct. Remember, the volume is always italicized. We're now going to move on to electronic sources, which is the second main source of information you'll use in this class. If you look, it's the same setup, last name, initial, name of the document using mostly small letters, except in an electronic source, the name of the document is italicized, and the title of the source is not italicized. So it's the opposite of a journal. Sometimes you need a retrieved on date, and you always need where to find it. So here are 3 examples. The first one shows an article from the Centers for Disease Control on HIV in gay and bisexual men. If you notice, the name of the item is italicized. The source, which is the website, Vital Signs CDC, is not italicized. And then the link where to find it. The second item is a website with information that you can find for every county in the country on COVID data. So this is the name of the item. Notice it is italicized. The name of the web page, not italicized. And this one has this retrieved on date. This is important because this web page changes routinely. Anytime you use a web page that is likely to change, you must put in a retrieved on date. And then you have the link that will take the reader to the site. And the last example here is an author that's working for an organization. So in this case, Jay Schulte, last name, first initial, date, wrote an article called Diabetes, Type 2 Diabetes Basics. Notice the item is italicized, the website is not. And then you have the link. So that's a summary of electronic source or an organization as an author. So let's practice that. There will be 2 questions and there'll be 1 best answer for each question. Remember, you can pause the video to take the time you need to think about the answer you want to choose. Here's question number 1. The name of the article is Diabetes Basics, Type 2 Diabetes. CDC Diabetes is the name of the webpage. What's wrong with the citation? Is it letter A, that the title should be italicized and the source should not? Should the title and the source be italicized? Does it not need to have a web link because it's a government source? Or is there nothing wrong with it? Pause the video to think about that question. If you chose that the title of the item should be italicized and the source should not, that is correct. This was the question. This was the citation in the question. And if you look below, you will see that the name of the item is italicized and the web page is not. The last question. Here's an article about HIV, an online article or item. This is the name of the article found on the webpage Vital Signs from CDC. What's wrong with this citation? Is it that Vital Signs CDC should be italicized? Should Vital Signs have a small s? Should the word difference not be uppercased, or is there nothing wrong with it? Pause the video to take the time to think about the question. If you chose there's nothing wrong with it, that is correct. This citation is correct. So what we've just done in a few minutes is we've looked at the basic format of APA, the order in which things appear. It's almost always the same order. And you were supposed to be able to identify up to 4 errors that are found in APA references. Can you do that? If you need more practice, make sure you check out the quizzes on APA in the information section of our Blackboard course page. Thank you and happy writing.